Hi, I'm Hadzicki, inventor of the Revolution, and people often tell me I'm going on vacation for a week to the beach. It's the only chance I get to fly my Rev. Well, I've got news for you. The Rev can be flown in a wide range of conditions and locations. So look around your neighborhood and see if you can find a new place to fly your Rev. I visited a few different pocket parks in my neighborhood, and I looked at them and they looked pretty impossible to start out. But after a few minutes in each park, I realized they're all flyable. Now, I'm not saying every place is possible, but many of them are. For example, this park looks impossible, but the Revolution makes it possible. I wouldn't fly a one-line kite in this park. Usually you're flying on a long line. There's just not enough room here. Also, I wouldn't fly a two-line kite in this park. There's just not enough room to maneuver around inside this park. But the Rev is perfectly situated for this type of flying. A common problem I see with new Rev pilots is they spend too much time resetting the Rev up. For example, they fly off to the edge, it lands, there's not enough wind, they bring it back on wind. And another thing, they land and then they step forward, the Rev lays down on the ground, they have to go set it up. So I'm going to give you 3 tips to get you to spend more time in the air flying and less time on the ground resetting up your Rev. Tip number 1, know your wind direction. The wind is blowing this way, and that way is downwind. You want to launch your Rev downwind. And you also want to land your Rev downwind. If you land offwind, you won't have enough wind to relaunch and you'll have to go pick it up. Launch downwind, land downwind. Number 2, land your Rev and instantly tilt it back. Don't lay it down on the ground, just tilt it slightly back. This is a more stable position for it and you'll be ready for your next launch. Number 3, when flying on short lines, practice the hand launch. The hand launch makes launching super fun, and it also eliminates the need to set up your kite. Today I'm flying on 30-foot lines. This park is so small that I can't really fly on anything longer than that. If you fly in a small space, you might want to consider the 30-foot lines. When I travel on vacation, I usually take 2 line sets with me, a short 30-foot line set and a longer set 60 to 80 feet. This allows me to cover all the flying options. Even though your Rev will fly in virtually any conditions, let's make sure you fly smart. Don't fly above your skill level, and always make sure you've got clearance for trees, streets, fences, and people. Let's take a look at this difficult location from 3 different skill levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. If you're a brand new rev flyer, I wouldn't fly in this park. The trees are just too close. You take it up, lose control, and you very easily could land in a tree. But with that said, for the first step, launch, stop, and back it down. Remember, we want to be downwind, we want to go straight up, and we want to land downwind, and then tilt our rev back to keep it ready for the next launch. I know that seems very simple, but you're actually accomplishing 3 things at the same time. Number 1, you're seeing how much energy you need to launch your rev. Number 2, you're backing it back down in the same place, downwind. And number 3, you're practicing that tilt back, so now you're ready to go. You didn't waste any time landing off wind, and we have to go pick it up. Okay, now for step number 2. It's still basic flying, but we're gonna use our reflex abilities. So we have our reflex, so what we can do is we can take it overhead and we can float it, which gives us some time to reposition ourselves. So for step 2, launch just like we did before. Step back to generate enough wind. If you're in poor, light, bumpy conditions, get it up overhead, turn it, and float it back. And the goal is to get back to where you started, land your rev, and tilt it back so you're ready for another go. All right, we got a launch. We're stepping back to generate the wind to get us up in the air. Then we turned and used our reflex to float back. Did you land in the same spot? Did you land downwind? And did you tilt your rev back so you're ready for the next launch? Good job. Step number 3. Let's take it one step further. Take it up, float it in the air, turn around, walk it back. Without landing it, turn it, fly it back up again. Repeat that process. This means that you've got control over your rev and you can keep flying even when the winds are turbulent or almost non-existent. Okay, our conditions have dropped from about 0 to 1, somewhere in there. We've got turbulence, of course, because the wind's coming off the trees, so I shifted over to the XX full sail. So for this intermediate level, what I want you to do is basically the same thing we did in the first skills. We want to go up and maintain that position, use our walking back to gain altitude, and then float back downwind to gain our distance. Then what I want you to do is start adding in some skills, maybe a spin, maybe some reverse flight, maybe even a dive stop. So step back to generate that wind for the dive stop, then get it back up overhead and float it back to your starting position. For the advanced levels, start including the reflex floating skills, for example, the catch and throw or the fly-by 360. Flying your Rev in difficult conditions will take your skills up several levels. Our goal is for you to have as much fun as possible with your Revolution. Who knows, you might even be able to fly your Rev in your own backyard. Come join us at Club 38 and learn a few new skills. Also come see us at revkites.com, maybe even pick up a short line set. Hit the like button, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you on the field.